Hey, welcome Bulldog fans. We are week 3, episode 2 of the Coach's Couch. Fun time this week, Coach. We're a day late, by the way. People do watch this, Chad.
Do they?
Yeah, shockingly, because I had several people ask me, where's it at? Where's it at? Because we're a day late.
Mom and Dad.
Well, it's actually my cousin. But there are at least 3 viewers. We're up to 3. We are live at Yoyo's. We're not actually live. We're going to be live starting next week. So make sure you live stream. Follow this YouTube channel. Cletus will put on the times each week that we are going live. We may mix it up. We may go evenings. We may go in the mornings, but we welcome people to show up where we're going to be. This week we're at Yoyo's. We're not live, but we'll be live next week. We've got a lot to cover today, Coach. It's Friday, it's game day, but let's rewind. Massive game last week on the road. We talked about playoff atmosphere, Highland Bulldogs, really hostile environment. From a fan's perspective, an amazing game, a fun game to watch. From a coach's perspective, a lot different. So let's get into that. You only gave up, well, you didn't give up any points in the first half. And then the second half, kind of the floodgates opened up. Talk about what adjustments were made or not made, or what happened in the game to where it was kind of a tale of 2 halves, if you will.
Yeah, that's well said. I think, I'm glad that the fans enjoyed it, and thought it was exciting. From a coach's perspective, though, we did get a lot out of it as well. We learned a lot about ourselves. We learned a lot about our team. Again, we say this all the time, and it's not an excuse, it's a fact. We got to continue to grow up, and it was a new experience for most of our kids, whether it was, how we react to a second half, with a 20-point lead. And then we talked about the bus ride and the trip and the long walk from their locker room to where the field was. I could go on and on for days about how great this experience was for us. Now, certainly we wanted to come out, with a win on the W column, and unfortunately that didn't happen, and I'm sure we'll get into that here in a little bit. But overall, all things considered, that game prepared us and propelled us to continue on our mission of getting better each and every week, of growing up, of learning. And that was a great test and a great challenge for us. And I'm so happy that we had that opportunity, because I don't know how many more we're going to get throughout this season. And again, we could probably talk about that here in a minute too. As far as the game specifically, I would say, number one, it were the adjustments that Highland made at halftime. They did a lot of motion adjustments and formation adjustments. They took their what is number 0 and moved him all around the field, where they didn't show that in week 1. And our game plan was kind of predicated towards him. He's a very good player. Obviously, so is our quarterback. They had a wideout, number 18, who we were really focused on as well. And so I would say overall they did a great job with their halftime adjustments of doing something that they hadn't shown on film, whether it was last year when we played them or even in week 1. So we adjusted lately, I would say, unfortunately too late to some of those things. And then we just gave up too many big plays, too many missed tackles, too many blown assignments. Something as simple as, a call is made and a guy's supposed to be in the A gap for a reason, and goes to the B gap for whatever reason, and that gives up an 85-yard touchdown. And so it's little mistakes like that again, we have to continue to fix and we have to continue to correct. And I feel that we are. That's part of that growing up stage. We're still learning and still getting better. So we're definitely on the right track. Again, I hate it that we lost for our kids, but at the same time, it's not necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes you can learn more and better yourselves more as a program when you do get a loss, as opposed to maybe a win. Sometimes you celebrate maybe a little too much. So all things considered, I like where our team's at. I like where we're headed, the direction that we're in. We responded very well, had a great week of practice this week, coming off of that loss, and we're going to go give it our best chance tonight. So,
yeah, another playoff atmosphere. of course, in a game like that, there are about a zillion different decisions within the game that a lot of folks don't quite understand that you staff make along the way. One of the big calls, I thought, I'm sitting in a hotel room miles away, but I thought, wow, what a genius thing to let them score there at the end when really all hope was lost by all accords, and it ended up giving us a chance to win the game. Other calls too, people want to know about, you had an opportunity to kick late in the game. There had been a block kick earlier. Talk about that decision, what went into that as a staff for that particular play and other plays along the way. I know that, there's a zillion calls during the game, but people want to know.
Yeah, I don't ever think it comes down to one call specifically. There's a lot of things throughout the course of the game that we probably could have done differently. The fourth down where we went for it, I felt good about going for it. Unfortunately, it was a little miscommunication between myself and then the quarterback and receiver, so we weren't on the same page, and so we turned it over there within our own territory, and kind of led to what became their next score, which is exactly what you're talking about. And never in my life have I ever asked a defense to let the other team score. And I told them at the time, I'm like, guys, you know me, I'm never going to ask you to ever give up or ever quit. That's not who we are. That's not what we do. I'm like, but you got to trust me on this one. If they come out to block you and actually run a play, I need you to get blocked into the end zone and let them score. They kick the extra point. They go up by 8. We get the ball back and have a chance. They could have easily have taken a knee again, and the game is over. We lose by 6 or by 7. Or by 1 actually at the time is what it would have been. But again, they ran the play. Our kids executed it perfectly. We got the ball back on a really good return at midfield. 3 plays, 4 plays. We're in the end zone and we're taking it to overtime. So it almost worked out perfectly as far as that's concerned. But it was tough to say that to our kids in a huddle. Especially sometimes, young kids, they don't understand why I'm saying that. But I told them, you just got to trust me. We got to give ourselves a chance. So I was happy the way we executed that. You mentioned the field goal. And again, that was 100% my call. I looking back, hindsight's 2020. I got skittish. I got scared because of the blocked field goal, and because of that penalty, it put us on the 1/2 yard line. And I thought to myself, "There's no way we're going to get stopped from a 1/2 yard line. Sure. We're going to punch this in, and we're going to celebrate." And again, unfortunately, their kids made a great play. We liked the play call initially because what had happened throughout the course of the game. Their backside DN linebacker kid kept crashing down hard the whole time. So we felt good about, Lucas faking that and rolling out and hitting Trey in the back of the end zone. And Trey was in the back of the end zone wide open. But the one time that kid didn't crash down, he was right in Lucas's face. So unfortunately, it looked to be a terrible call. But I don't think I would do it differently. And then even again in the second overtime, people probably question, why didn't I kick the extra point? At the same time, my thought process was, we're going for the win. I'm always going to be an aggressive coach. I want to win the game. And if nothing else, I'm going to put pressure on them to make the 2-point conversion. We kick the extra point and we go up 7, and then they score and get the 2-point, then it's over anyway, and they beat us by 1. So my thought process at the time, especially after that unsportsmanlike penalty that they had, where again it put us on the 1/2 yard line, I said, we're giving the ball to one of our best runners behind one of our best blockers. I'm doing that all day, every day, and not thinking twice about it. Again, unfortunately, sometimes that's the breaks of the game and the sport itself. It didn't go our way, and we got tackled for a loss there, and then they kicked the extra point, obviously, and we know the rest is history and lost by 1. So it is what it is, but I truly, deep down, don't think I would do it differently if I had a chance to do it again.
Yeah, I appreciate that perspective. I think you said something that I thought was really, really key there. going for 2 on the road is really, really the only call when it comes down to it. You have to put pressure on them because, like you said, you go for 1, they score, they're going for 2, it's over.
Yep.
You might as well go for it on the road, especially. If you're home, maybe it's a little different. But I'm going to hand it over to my partner, Chad, who was actually 16 minutes late this morning. So we're letting him wake up, get his coffee. We aren't Yo-Yos. This is Coach's Couch. So take it away, Chad, now that you're awake, hopefully.
Okay, well, thank you, Dan. I do just want to say I appreciate aggressive calls like that. And, when we kind of write out the questions for the week, I just go on record. You've never asked us to stray away from anything. You take things right on. A lot of times you don't even know what we're going to ask you, which is to your credit. Let's jump into this week. We've got Sycamore coming in at Interstate 8, tough conference. They're 2-0. I'm happy we have this game at home. We need it. And I also just want to say, in the previous at least 4+ years, whatever, we've kind of been involved in this. The first 5-6 games, they're runaway, right? You've prepared this team for adversity up front. And, I totally agree with you. Sometimes the best win is a loss. It prepares you for the rest of the season. So let's jump into Sycamore. Their first game was against DeKalb, right? And in that game, in the films that I watched, it sure looked like they showed some susceptibility to the pass game. That's a good thing for the Bulldogs. How do you balance taking advantage of that, maybe scoring quick against, we know they're going to come in here. I'll talk about the run in a minute. We know they're probably going to come in here and run a lot on us. Your defense needs some breathe. How do you balance against those two?
Yeah, that's tough, and that's a great point, Chad. At the end of the day, you want to score, right? Like the name of the game is to score more points than the other team. But you also need to, if you're going to stop people and keep them from scoring, you got to make sure that your defense is fresh and ready to go and had time to make adjustments. So I definitely think it is kind of a factor in the ball game. But at the end of the day, our offensive coaching staff does a great job of manipulating things to take advantage of maybe what we do best and maybe what they're going to give up, so to speak, if that makes sense. You mentioned the passing yards that they gave up to DeKalb. That is a very that's a statistic that if you look even deeper into. DeKalb's got 2 very good wide receivers. One of them, I believe, is a 3-star who's getting offered by Illinois. He can play football, and then the other kid is getting some MAC offers, I'm pretty sure. So they had talent everywhere. Again, we liked some of the things that we saw on film that they did to Sycamore. So certainly we're going to try to take advantage of that. And like I mentioned earlier, I know that our offensive coaching staff has a great game plan in store. We are going to try to be balanced, right? You got to be able to run the football, especially if they're going to, defend the pass, maybe more so than not. After what happened to them in week 1, they came back week 2 and did a much better job defensively, especially defending the pass. So we're prepared. We're ready to go. We feel good about our game plan, and now it's just going to come down to execution, no doubt.
Yeah. In their week 2 against Oswego, they just played smash mouth football. 97% of their yards last week were run. It seemed obvious that part of their strategy was, we're just going to wear you out as long as we can run. And they have some very interesting formations. They'll have a single back. I noticed on film they might run 3 or 4 backs as 2 or 3 as blockers. They've got a lot of meat up front. What do we do this week in practice that was different, that prepared us to defend against that, and also not just get so worn out? If they're just controlling the clock deep into the 3rd and 4th quarter, what do we do different this week that helped us prepare for this?
I think physicality is the word that we've preached all week. We know how physical they're going to be on both sides of the ball in their trenches. You mentioned the multiple backs that they have, multiple tight ends that they have. I mean, they're going to come at you and they're going to punch you in the mouth. That's how they play up there in the Interstate 8 Conference. And that's what I want for our kids to see. It is a different level of football, and that's exactly why we put these guys on the schedule. It is going to be a great test for our kids and our program as a whole, just to truly show us, where we're at, maybe where we still need to get better at, where we want to go, and what we got working well. And like I said, I think tonight is a great opportunity for our kids to put on display maybe the strides that we're making in the right direction against a very, very great caliber team. They're in and out of the state finals and semifinals what feels like each and every year. That's how good of a program this is. And you mentioned beating DeKalb and beating Oswego East, who are two 7A ball clubs who are very good as well. We know what they're going to do. They're not fancy. They're not flashy. They're going to come in. They're going to punch you in the mouth. And if you can't stand up to them, they're going to smell blood in the water and take advantage of it. So our kids know that. Again, we've preached physicality this whole week. We got to get stops. We got to get off the field. Turnovers are great. Last week, the reason that Oswego East was able to keep it so close was because of the turnovers that they were able to create. So if we can create some of those, again, to get our defense off the field, maybe sooner rather than later, and get our offense back out there, hopefully with the ball in their hands, moving the ball and scoring some points, I think that's going to give us a great shot. But at the end of the day, both sides of the ball, up front especially, we're going to have to be physical.
Yeah. From a fan's perspective, to simplify it, right? You think there's just 22 players on the field battling it out. That's only half the game. You coaches are actually battling it out as well. You're making real-time adjustments. There might be a time that you don't even totally agree with the call. There's a lot going on there. What are the must-win battles this week for both the coaching staff and the players?
Yeah, again, another fantastic question. I think looking back to last week, we have to be ready to make adjustments. Again, we feel really good about our game plan, but great coaches, great coaching staffs. Coach Ryan at Sycamore does a great job with him and his staff. We know that they're going to make adjustments, right? They're going to see what our game plan is. And make adjustments to try to take advantage of some things that they feel good about. So when those adjustments are made, we have to be ready to counter that. And again, I think that's a major takeaway from last week moving into this week is what does that counter adjustment look like to an already game plan that you feel good about. And then that being said, again, from a player's perspective, we got to make sure we take care of the ball. We can't afford penalties and turnovers. And in a game like this, what probably pans out to be a playoff type atmosphere and level of play, it's going to come down to the team that makes the least amount of mistakes. Assignments, number one, but then the penalty and turnover game, if you can win that battle, you're going to put yourself in a good position to be successful at the end of the night. And so I think that's going to be our major focus, again, as a coaching staff, and then certainly as players. And then last but not least, I mentioned the physicality. You're going to see our coaches and our leaders are going to continue to preach being physical, standing up to the challenge. Our theme of the week this week was Be the Buffalo. And if you ever heard that story, about when a storm rolls in, cows kind of, they run from the storm and ultimately it keeps them in the storm for longer, and that adversity and they're scared of it, right? So they're running from it and ultimately they're in it longer. Where buffalo, when they see a storm coming, they turn and they take it head on. And what that does is that gets them through them faster than if you're turning and running with the storm. And so that's been our theme this week is, here comes a storm. Here comes a great opportunity, adversity, a challenge, physicality. Let's take it head on. Let's give it all we got, stand up to the challenge, be physical for 4 quarters, and let's see what happens. Let's be the Buffalo.
Man, I'm ready to play, Coach. It's Friday night. It's a home game. It's going to be a great atmosphere, too. We love our home games. We talk about protecting the house. I know you want to protect that house. We're excited for tonight. Let's dive into some non-football related questions here and go off the trail of the Buffalo for a second. You're a physical education teacher during the day. What's your favorite unit and why? To teach and be a part of. You go through the year, you got all these different sports. What's your favorite one throughout the whole year? And explain why. I know what mine would be.
See that on the question?
No, it's not on the question. And by the way, if you're watching, this is a brand new channel. We probably could use sponsors because you're seeing the stuff that we're dealing with here. Cletus is a broke college kid, and we've got to hand off mics. We've got little fur balls. So we're looking for sponsors. Get a hold of me or Chad or Coach. Hey, we need some upgrades. But talk about PE, favorite union, and why.
All right. Well, I'd be remiss if I didn't say that the flag football unit is,
No,
is my favorite.
that's a cheat
unit.
code. That's a cheat code.
But you know, when we get indoors, I'm a big badminton and pickleball
Yeah.
guy. Like I still feel like I'm in my 20s and I can fly around the court and I still got the hand-eye coordination, even though I'm losing it. I can't see half the time. But I love those two sports. You know, like I said, it gives us something to do when we get kind of stuck indoors, and it usually gets competitive. It's fun. You know, we make tournaments and brackets and kids get into it and they get active. And you know, now I'm actually teaching more driver ed classes than I am PE classes at the very moment. So if you ask me what my favorite unit in driver's ed is, I love when we get a chance to kind of talk about maybe the extra stuff, right? That sometimes people forget when they're driving. You know, whether it's new signs that we don't see around Mahomet. You know, there's certain types of roadways and intersections, so to speak, 3-lane roads, right? Like these are things that we don't see around Mahomet. And one of my
Chad had all these problems on the way here this morning.
That's why you're 16 minutes late.
Every single one of them. So maybe
you know,
he needs to get in.
Check, please.
Yeah, you need to get involved in this class.
I tell the kids all the time, you know, I hope for your sake you don't only get to drive in Mahomet the rest of your life. And as you do get to venture out into other cities and other states, you know, you're going to encounter things that we don't have here. And so to be able to talk and discuss about those, you know, reversible lane signal. I mean, I could go on for days. It's really cool to watch the kids' eyes open like, whoa, I've never seen one of those, or what is that sign? You know, we don't have that around here. So that's always really cool as far as driver's ed. And then truth be told, every kid loves to be in that class. Oh, yeah. You know, it's not, and no offense to any other subject, but it's not any other subject that kind of kids are forced. They want to be in there. Mm-hmm. They're great students. They want to get their license. So that certainly kind of makes my job easier too. But no, I enjoy both subjects and love teaching them both and love our kids. I mean, we have some of the best kids. Again, I can say that. I've been to multiple schools, and our kids here are second to none. They're great. They're great kids overall.
Yeah, they really are. But the real question is, how many times have you used the e-brake in your driver's ed classes?
So in my 16-year career, probably 5 times, truth be told.
Yeah, I don't think I could handle the nerves.
Well, and that's just it. I don't think I would do it if I didn't have that brake on my side of the car. So just that peace of mind, knowing that I can slam on something and protect ourselves while we're in the car is I'm glad that they put that in there.
Yeah.
So
no
doubt.
They're all learning at different levels.
Yeah.
I don't know how you do it, Coach. That's probably a huge challenge, more so than coaching football, I think. But I think we could. I don't know. You got anything else?
No,
I mean, we're basically live, but not. So next week
we will.
Next week we're gonna go live. We had a little hiccup. This is all new. Ryan Ziegler is in charge of this production, so he's going to get us live next week. We'll announce on the YouTube channel or on, I don't know, social media, something, where we'll be and what time. We welcome you to join us in person, definitely online. That's it. That's a wrap. Good luck tonight, Coach.
Appreciate it.
Big game, big atmosphere. everybody that's in town better be at the field, and you can watch the Bulldog TV production after the game. We need you at the field tonight. All right, that's a wrap. We'll see you next week on the coach's couch.